All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Purpose Driven Pivot. My name is Greg Clay. I'm the host of this particular platform, and I am honored to have a special guest with me this afternoon, Miss Brandi Fowler. Brandi, how you doing?
I'm good. Hi, everybody.
And so,
Here.
Brandi, it's going to be, I know, a very exciting conversation as I'm live from Athens, Georgia during this holiday season. While we bounce around, the state, the show must go on. And so I'm really, really excited to converse with you about all things entertainment, all things travel, and different things associated with new ventures that you're jumping into with all the things that you'll be doing in this new space. And so I'm looking forward to getting into it. As a reminder to everyone that's tuning in, we're also on Facebook Live. And this is a year-long interview series where I'm featuring some really dynamic people like Brandi, where we'll have a culminating event in June of 2021 that'll compile all of these awesome conversations that we're having with people that are pivoting on their journey. And so, Brandi, I want to start things off by allowing those folks that are viewing and listening with us today, just to tell people where you're from. I know that you're from my hometown as well, but you can get as specific as you want to, and then talk maybe a little bit about where you are right now professionally, and then we'll get into the deeper conversation regarding your journey.
Okay, cool. I'm from Atlanta originally, and I'm sitting in Atlanta now. I lived in LA for a long time, working as a fashion and entertainment journalist, and kind of switched my home base at the end of 2018 and was going back and forth before the pandemic hit and everything changed. So during this time, it's just been a big pivot moment, which we'll talk about. But I recently started a new role covering beauty, fashion, and lifestyle for a UK outlet called Hello. They're expanding their US team, and I was one of the first people that they brought on. So I'm super excited about that. I haven't even announced it or put it on my LinkedIn yet. That's how new it is, but I'm super excited about that for real. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so I think at this particular point, when it comes to all the things that you've been able to do on your journey as you pivoted into that space, you're very, very into travel with Destination Fab. Let's shout out Destination Fab. If you're not following Destination Fab, Brandi goes on worldwide tours, showing folks all the things that they need to be tuned into and plugged into as it relates to travel. And so talk a little bit about that as well.
So Destination Fab before the pandemic was, well, it still is a lifestyle and travel site, but I started it basically to give tips about traveling. Like when I went to a trip, I like to talk about the things that I love, like where to go eat, what to wear, the best places to go, and the most fun things to do. And I talked about the events that I went to in LA before the pandemic. I was at an event like at least once a day or two times a day, a brands event or, something like the Oscars or a fashion show. So I would really break down what it was like to be there. And that's kind of like what Destination Fab became as we headed towards the pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic, totally different story as we
Yeah.
couldn't travel anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you're still keeping some things local. I mean, you've done an
I,
awesome pivot
I
even
am.
into that. I think while
Thank you.
everybody loves to see traveling in Bali, and down in South America, you've been able to keep things interesting for some things in Georgia too. So I mean,
Well,
that,
thank you. No, I think it's the pivot with Destination Fab definitely has been trying to figure out what resonates with people during this time, and
mhm,
also getting to a place where I even wanted to try, something even locally, and to figure out what you could do safely and
yeah,
outdoors, and to share that with people, because there definitely was a pivot for me where I wasn't doing anything,
hmm,
to getting into a space like everybody else where, there was an understanding where COVID is here, but how can we also live with it? And is there anything we can do in a safe way,
hmm.
and still have an adventure at the same time? So that's been interesting to be able to find those things. And there's some really cool things in Georgia that I didn't even know existed. So
Yeah, I mean, you're uncovering treasures that even I didn't know about. And Brandi, that type of stuff is important. You know, as people are, you know, not doing a whole lot of things, you know, for people to be able to see what's out there, and if they're willing to, you know, of course, following all the precautions to get out and go do things, it still has this very, very big meaning for a lot of people that follow you, whether they're here in Georgia or, you know, around the world, because we know that you keep it global as a global influence.
no, but yeah, no, it's been great to try things and discover different things. I went to like I didn't realize that Georgia had a wine country, which was so cool to me. It was very like I went there last week, and it was like a very southern like version of Napa and a smaller, more affordable version of it, and I loved it. But I definitely think yeah, for anybody looking at this, and it's weird because I can't see anybody commenting or anything, but yeah, absolutely, you know, try that maybe when you know there's less of a surge for COVID, but yeah, definitely try that at some point because I felt safe there. There's plenty of places to sit out away from everybody once you get your wine, and yeah, I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a lot of people tuned in via Facebook and also some very familiar names. In full disclosure, y'all, I got to shout out Brandi. Brandi is one of the line sisters to my wife, Shani. So shout out to Shani. In the LQ family that's tuned in as well. Shout out to Duke Deltas. You want to say anything, Brandi? You know, y'all a clan.
Oh no, we are. No, actually, your wife and another one of my line sisters, Andy, are a big reason that I know about so many things in Georgia. Didn't they told me about wine country? They've told me about a lot of different things. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brandi, during the pandemic, you had these. Oh, shout out to Blaine. She just tuned in. But during this pandemic, you what I also noticed, you know, not just related to how you pivoted with Destination Fab and you know with your new role that we'll get into a little bit later as well. You're very vocal about some of the social justice things that are going on.
Yeah.
You know, Atlanta had, you know, we had our own cadence of rhythm around advocacy things that were happening, and even for folks that weren't necessarily out in the streets and doing certain things, using their voice and using their platforms for a lot of people that connect and seek your guidance. It was really cool to see you lend your voice. Any thoughts around, you know, what you feel about the movement right now, and as it relates to things that you'll continue to advocate for in the entertainment industry?
I think when everything happened this summer, when there was a resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, after George Floyd's murder, it made me feel differently about being so comfortable being the only Black at these events that I was going to. It had happened so many times that I really just got comfortable with that. And I just stopped noticing. There was a time I was sitting at an event with somebody, another Black journalist, and he was like, do you realize that when we go to events, it's really just me and you there, and that's it? And I was like, you know what? I do, but it's been so many times that I just got numb to it. Well, that's the Hennessy. We were sitting at a table with some Hennessy. Sorry to say that on your podcast, but we were.
Oh no, we can talk about whatever we want to. Shout out to Hennessy drinkers, the warm Hennessy drinkers, right?
Right. So, but no, it was just like a situation where I was like, wow, I didn't realize that by the way that I was moving in my career, that I didn't put myself in a position to be able to lift somebody else up. I mean, I could have because of the relationships that I formed with different outlets that I worked for. But because I wasn't working consistently in a full-time space and moving up the ranks, and that was never my goal, then I wasn't in a top exec position where I could pull other Black people up. So I started thinking about that, and it made me feel like I'm ready to go back to full-time. Even though I had already been applying for full-time jobs, I just went about it in a different way. I started being vocal on my application and applications and in any interview that I got, where I was like, you know, if they said, what can you bring to our outlet? I said, I want to bring more Black owned content, like more content about Black owned brands, more content about Black celebrities, more content about Black people in general or people of color. I was very vocal about the fact if I saw that they didn't have enough diversity in their content where I spoke up about it. And it was the first time that I felt comfortable doing that, but also I was in a space where I don't even give a crap anymore. It is what it is. Let the chips fall. If I don't get the job, I wasn't meant to work with those people. I did the same thing with Hello, and it was very refreshing to have a team where everybody I interviewed with was white. And one of the things that they were saying was that they really loved that I said that. And that they did need help with that. And I love that about their team, that they were open to that.
Now, Brandi, that requires a lot of courage, right? To navigate in a space that you are very passionate about, right? Where some people might have the keys to these opportunities. And so to lean in like that, I mean, I just want to pause and say, even on a new journey, that requires a lot of courage and responsibility with it. But I don't think without you speaking your voice, you may or may not have gotten the opportunity, right? But certainly speaking your voice and showing that courage, man, that means a lot to me personally.
Well, thanks. Thanks. No, I think I was talking over the summer. You know what? There was really a shift with my social media too. Like in my Insta story where I just started talking about whatever, like however I felt about the pandemic or social justice issues or this election. And I think that kind of gave me the confidence to speak about what I wanted to, specifically what we were just talking about with the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was telling a story during the time of I went for this position of editor-in-chief for this outlet whose name I've never said. And it was just a very interesting set of circumstances where I went in for the interview, went through all this stuff. And at the end, it was between me and one other person, they said. They had me do like a full editorial plan for the year, which no one should ever do, by the way, and submit that to them. And then I didn't hear from them for about 2 weeks. And they said, I was like, hey, what's going on? They said, hey, just want to let you know we gave the job to an internal candidate. That's frustrating when, in that situation, when jobs do that, they already have that internal candidate in mind. Well, this happened to be a 24-year-old white woman. And so when I saw that, it hit me in a different way. I'm never the one that's like, oh, I didn't get the job because I'm Black. But like, it was like, why didn't I get the job when this person has 10 years less experience of me for sure? And like, I mean, it just didn't make any sense. So that fueled like everything that, the way I started moving after that in terms of approaching editors, saying, you said you put up the black box, where's your content? Like I really have been vocal during this time, even though I haven't said it out loud on social media.
And let's keep it 1,000, right? Let's keep it a buck. Like for those folks that, I know we shout out the home team earlier, for those folks that aren't or might not be as familiar with Brandi, you've done, again, referencing your work on the West Coast. I mean, every red carpet event, every major fashion, every major thing that's happening in the spotlight that's had this global eye on it, you've been present in that. And so your influence, your experience, your pedigree of how you bring, content to the table, I mean, you're at the top notch or top level of the game when it comes to those types of things. And so when you talk about those types of experiences and even people like you in those lanes, I mean, it requires this certain tone. And I think that the world, whether they're ready or not, people like you are bringing your voice to the table and just in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And so for those types of things that you want to change and innovate around, it sounds like this is a type of opportunity to do that, not just with the Hello space and not just with the Destination Fab concept. I mean, any other innovative things that you're thinking through right now? You don't have to reveal all the secrets during this time, but,
Sure. No, I just, I'm actually starting a branding and media company, sister, who's, branding and media, I'm saying this wrong, branding and marketing consulting and media consulting company with my sister who's been branding and marketing for a long time. So I'm excited about that too. So I kind of have my hands in a lot of different pots.
So you're applying pressure. You're applying pressure out here. That's pretty. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm really excited about what we have in store. So we'll be announcing that soon. But yeah, I'm excited about that. And then as far as Destination Fab, it's just a constant pivot, just trying to figure out what to do with the content. And as things change, oh, you can travel 1 minute or you shouldn't. And it's just like, trying to make sure that I say things that keep people safe. So it's just a constant pivot with that. But at some point with Destination Fab, I'll be launching some products, and that's been something I wanted to do for a long time. So yeah.
Now, Brandi, prior to coming into the industry, after leaving college, after leaving Duke, traveling to the West Coast, what were some of the major decisions that you made before really, really jumping into that lane? I don't know another person in your space doing it at the level that you're doing it. And so for those folks that might not be as familiar with, that particular, lifestyle and doing that type of work, were there any things that being a, young lady from Atlanta, then going to school up in the Carolinas, going out to the West Coast, that's a big decision. What were some of those things like back then?
It was weird because at that time, nobody else wanted to do what I wanted to do except for me. I felt like I did. Like nobody was really trying to be in the fashion and entertainment space. And at the time, I wanted to act too. So I knew that I wanted to go to New York.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was a big reason that I went.
Now, that's still on the, listen, that's still a part of the.
No, I think, you never know, but I did, I got my acting experience in LA and ended up letting it go. I don't know how many years it's been now, but yeah, that was a big reason that I moved to LA. But no, literally, like for anybody who has, who knows somebody who's like in college and they're not sure what they want to do, or if there's anybody watching who is in college and doesn't know what they want to do, I literally at the end of my senior year, I was like, okay, I think I should apply to grad school because I didn't want to go straight into the workforce. I also wanted to get to LA or New York, like I said, for the reason. So I was like, I love journalism. I'm going to apply to journalism school. That was journalism was kind of like my plan B and plan A mixed, but yeah, and acting too. So yeah, I ended up getting into USC. That was actually the only school that I got into for grad school. So
USC is a good school.
No, USC is a great school.
Yeah, it's outstanding school.
It is. It's one of the top journalism schools, but that was the only school I got into.
Shout out to USC then. We'll get them some shout out love too, Hey. Go ahead.
Yeah. So after that, even in journalism school, I was still the only one who wanted to do like fashion and entertainment, that sort of space in my grad school class. But it was a great education, great on-hand training, which I think everybody who wants to be a journalist who goes to grad school should do. Make sure that program has something where they have you out in the field actually doing things, where you learn how to report and produce and write and all that stuff. So you come out really with everything you need to go into the workforce. So after that, yeah, I went from grad school to working working for everyone from E! as a writer and editor, AOL for the site called Cambio as an on-air host and editor, InStyle as a red carpet reporter and writer. I've done a lot at this point, but yeah, writer, producer, editor, on-air host, like some of everything I've done it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you take all this experience, you come back to the Atlanta area, like I said, end of 2018, right? Having different thoughts around your impact in the industry. COVID hits, everybody's pivoting, right? Fast forward, telling this candid truth about what needs to happen was one of the biggest. It's a huge brand, right? Mm-hmm. Based out of the UK, mm-hmm. Correct?
Yeah.
Now you have this opportunity to go in and say, things are going to be done like this most of the time. What does that look like for Brandi? Is Brandi back to traveling across the world? Is Brandi doing that, out of Atlanta?
That remotely for now, completely remotely.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole team is remote right now.
Good.
That's
Good.
also interesting, which I've never experienced. So
Mm-hmm.
I've heard all these stories about people working remotely, and now I'm seeing it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that's going to impact your ability to pull that content in? I'll share this with you when it comes to content for things that I do mostly in a public space, and even this particular platform. It's made it surprisingly easier regarding folks' availability, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And while you can't connect with everybody in person, like the meetings or flying out or scheduling things of that nature, it's made it a little bit easier. I mean, do you forecast those types of scenarios for the type of work you'll be doing for Hello?
People in the entertainment industry still like to act like they're so busy. Like,
Flex.
especially like celebrities like to act like they're so busy that they can't talk. But at the beginning of the pandemic, it was very different. I had a great conversation with all the lead actors on Greenleaf. And even like Lynn Whitfield and and that was all virtual. And I talked to Lynn Whitfield. We were only supposed to do like 5 minutes. We were just having such a good time that we just kept on talking.
That's good.
I think for like 30 minutes. So that was so different to me than what I'm used to. But now people are feeling like, oh yeah, I'm so busy, back to my life. It's definitely back to what it used to be. But I'll still be able to pull the content, even if even though I'm not on the red carpet anymore, I can still do it. It's just a different way. But because I have the contacts and there's been people I've talked to before, it makes it a lot easier.
Other than the excitement around the industry, the fashion components always fly. Folks that hadn't seen an IG timeline, go to an IG timeline. She always in the top tier fashion, doing it big. What are other things that inspire you around, just staying connected to the industry? Is it, something like the family or other types of stories? I mean, what are other things that just inspire you related to, doing the things that you love and your purpose?
It changed during the pandemic, after the pandemic hit. Because for a while I was like, there were so many different things happening and the social justice issues and all that stuff. I was just like, I don't really feel like talking about fashion. I don't feel like talking about lifestyle. I don't feel like putting on any clothes other than some joggers. You know what I'm saying? And so there was, even though I was still doing things in the industry, it changed. I also felt like I don't want to write about things that I don't care about anymore, just to do it. And that was a tough space to be in when the bulk of my livelihood had disappeared. But it was a situation where when editors that a lot of people in that red carpet space had worked for a long time weren't even answering emails. And then when they did come back, it was like, oh, we have budget cuts. It puts things into perspective in a different way. So I think it wasn't just me, but a lot of other red carpet people who felt like, okay, well, let me just start focusing on what I actually want to do. So that was a shift too. I don't know if that answered your question or if I just went off on a tangent there.
No, it does. I mean, I think that part of the opportunity in that change that you want to see. I mean, this candid truth around you saying openly and speaking truth to, hey, I want to dive deep on the things that are important to me. Brandi, that's big because a lot of folks have to deal with and do things that aren't necessarily within their purpose, right?
Yeah.
Or are going through this process of change. And that's why I've gotten the most positive feedback from these types of conversations. People saying, you know what? I've listened to this conversation. I've had this voice in the back of my mind. I heard Brandi talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And that change is really important. I think one of the contextual things about COVID, it has forced folks to really look at change and really look at pivot. But we've also got to recognize that change isn't always healthy, right? And listening to the healthier conversations around change, listening to the growth conversations around change. I was having a conversation. I mean, we're both from Atlanta, so I was having a conversation about the Gucci, Jeezy versus battle. Didn't know we'd be talking about this, but we at that intersection, right? but folks were talking about growth and change and therapy, right? And so the healthy things around, how folks are and industries are and even brands are thinking about change, I think you answered the question, spot on. It's not just consistent with where folks have been, but when you're looking for that healthy piece of change or that healthy way to go about things, I think your journey and what you've been describing thus far, it's inspiring, right? It's inspiring.
Well, thank you. I think what I really want everybody to understand, or I just really am wondering if everybody feels like this, that this has felt like a constant pivot from the time the pandemic started until now. There are constant ways that we all are pivoting with the way that we're dealing with the pandemic, or maybe in career or, whatever. And I think that that's okay too. You were saying that change is not always good. And I want to say that that's true. And also, like, I felt both ways about that during this time, because this pandemic has sucked a lot of ways, but it's had some great moments too. I've had some, great moments with my family, and great things that have happened with my family, like the birth of my nephew and another one on the way, and in this position, but also during this space of really struggling, just to be frank. It also like strengthened my spirituality, and it changed the way that I prayed too. So, so yeah, yes, change is not always great, but it can have some great parts to it too, that I think people should pay attention to.
Let's talk about the spirituality piece, adding that as a more, contextual part of change, right? What are some of the things that you're doing now more on a regular basis related to that spiritual growth or that inner growth?
Definitely praying and meditating every day, but kind of holding on to sort of a mantra that I just kept like saying to myself at the beginning of the pandemic. I started focusing on like the lack, like, everything I was lacking. And then I started saying, well, okay, that part is gone. Like the life that I knew before is gone. That is what it is. How can I come out of this pandemic better financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, like everything? Like I want to come out better. So what can I do? So I started kind of like making lists of, things that I wanted, or, even making to-do lists every day of the way I wanted to operate, and attacking it in that way. I also was like, how can I capitalize on everything that's happening right now? I started applying for grants and loans that applied to me, so that if I ever needed to reach into that money for a project or, something that I wanted, it's there. You know what I'm saying? I think that is something that even if people haven't done it yet, they should do. Like if there's any program, especially for Black-owned businesses, that you're not taking advantage of, you absolutely should do it.
Now we in Atlanta, Brandi, you gotta also say the caveat, do it the right way, because you know how Atlanta is.
That is true.
Now we were in any other city, I'd be talking to
That is very true. But yeah, like there's so many, especially, I can't remember what month it was, maybe like July or something, or end of June, where there were just like so many grant opportunities.
Yeah.
Like how could you not apply? Or just like people, grants for COVID relief for different industries. Yeah. How could you not apply? So, but yeah, anyways, got on the side track on that. But spirituality, I was saying all that because I also changed the way I was praying. I heard a Joel Osteen podcast, and I always listen to Joel Osteen podcast, but he was saying that, we should first thank God for everything that we have, and then thank him for the things that are coming. So I was like, that's an interesting way to think about things, instead of saying, God, please, I want this, like just saying, God, thank you for this that's coming on the, that's on the way. Thank you for this that's on the way. And thank you for the roof over my head and the food on the table. It just put a lot of things into perspective for me, because I think we can get so caught up in the lack that we miss that, oh, wait, I have a place to live in. I have food, like I have money to buy that food. And I think, and so many people don't. So, yeah.
That's a strong pivot, Brand.
Yeah, it was.
I think that, and I'll share this, especially for me on the spirituality piece, it's been an evolving cycle, right? Mm-hmm. It's been evolving. And this was even prior to COVID. But there's so much power in what you meant around or said around, praying for the things that need to come.
Mm-hmm.
And being intentional about those things. You
Definitely.
know, did you find that you were, being more intentional in that space as well? Or was it, did you start from a certain place and even changed in that? Or?
Um, no, I was very intentional. It's been, those things hadn't really come to fruition. So it's been like the same prayer for months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey,
So
persevere. Hey, look, that's perseverance. Look, let's
right,
go.
right,
Let's
right.
go.
But I say that because, one of the things did come to fruition, like this opportunity, but just like you could keep praying and praying and praying and get frustrated because, like, you know, it's like, did he hear me? But he did. It's just like, it's not on your timing. And so that's something to keep in mind too, is that it could take a couple months, it could take a year or more, but just keep praying for that thing and having faith that it's coming. That's all. I mean, I felt like during this time, all I really had to hold on to was my faith. For real.
So you did talk about from a professional aspect around, the growth in that and praying around the intention of that related to, and I don't even want to call it, from a destination fab side, I wouldn't call it a hobby, but it's something that you're even more passionate about. When you think about the next 5-10 years of destination fab, what were some of those, or what are some of those kind of components of things that you think about 10 years from now, related to, would you call it a hobby, Brandi, your travel, or is?
I wouldn't call Destination Fab a hobby.
Yeah, yeah.
Destination Fab is definitely my passion. And Destination Fab is a company, it's an LLC. I think people get it twisted a lot and think I just like am a blogger. And that's what Destination Fab is, but it's not. I don't even call it.
Now, I wasn't getting it twisted, Brand.
No, I'm
I
not
was just wanting.
not,
No, I'm messing
not
with
you.
you. Let the people. Now you gotta let the people know what it is. Say, hey.
No, a lot of people, even people I know, will call it a blog. It's not. That's not what I consider it to be. It's just the beginning of what I want Destination Fab as a company to be.
Yes.
So 5 to 10 years, I'd love to see Destination Fab be a TV show. I'd love to see Destination Fab be a media outlet. But these are things that I have to build towards. Destination Fab, like I said, will have products. So, it's just the beginning of what Destination Fab will be. Kimmy, I love Kimmy. Kimmy's always so encouraging of everything that Kimmy's my line sister. But yeah, she does. She's so encouraging. I can't talk. She's so encouraging of everything that all of us do. And I just love her. So.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Shout out again to LQ checking in. Now, Brand, when it comes to things that are in your personal space around, what continues to drive you and you do as a retreat from all of this, right? Because even in, leisure, there's a little bit of professional there. Anything that, is in that smaller space around, things that I love to do, whether it be by yourself or with people, that serve as a retreat for you? Not that I'm digging for surprises or things that people don't know about you, but I had to ask that question because and this is why I'm asking it, right? Because most folks' retreat might be more transactional or business related for you, right? And so while you about Destination Fab business, when you're sitting on the beach making it happen, if it feels like work, the brand, then is brand really kind of relaxing in it? Do you enjoy, certain types of books, or is it, other types of things that you're into, or?
Man, it's changed. Again, it's changed so much since the pandemic started. Like what I consider to be a retreat, I didn't do. But what's crazy is like picnics with my Lion sisters, your wife, and my other Lion sister, Andy, have been very therapeutic, I think, for all of us. Or even just sitting outside by myself, which I never did before, it's just been a great thing that I just wouldn't expect to be so, fulfilling before this. Other than that, I mean, binge watching a TV show, that's about it. Because I don't really do a lot. I really don't.
Well, let's not. Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm not going to let you minimize slowing down a little bit. right?
Yeah.
Because that could be something that we all may need to maximize.
Yeah. You
You
know,
know?
it's funny because before the pandemic, everybody was like, you know, you need to get some sleep, you need to sit down. I don't regret that I never sat down. Sorry, my bra strap. Let me fix that.
Go ahead.
But I just I found that by sitting down, it was really hard for me at first. And I was like, okay, I actually needed to sit down.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that I needed to handle that I was not handling. I needed sleep. I mean, there was just a lot that I needed to pay attention to and take care of. And I found that, like in that, that there was a peace in that. Um, I guess I just kind of kept feeling like, and this is the same thing, I'm repeating myself, but like a solace in that silence, I guess. That's really how I felt. Like,
That
wow,
sounds like a title for the first book.
maybe. But just like there was a piece that I didn't expect from sitting down and not being on the go constantly, because I really was on the go constantly for probably a decade. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts that you have around, the future of, the industry and the space that you want to share with folks? I mean, I certainly like to keep these things to an hour, but I want to make sure that you're able to communicate with folks around what it is that you really just want to push in a professional space as well.
I mean, I think it's going to take everybody continuing to put pressure on execs at media outlets in terms of what we want to really see that change. Because if we don't, the content for Black owned brands, the content about Black celebrities, that can fade away very quickly. So when you see those things, make sure you click it, because they pay attention to how many clicks they get. And we want to always make sure that that content has those high clicks. What I would love to see, though, in addition to that, is more hiring of Black people in the media industry. People are pushing out content and not hiring anybody, and that's a problem. So I would love to see that too.
When things open back up, the same person that you were sitting at with the table, well, the Hennessy situation was present. Maybe it's 2 or 3 more folks at that table, Brand.
Maybe. I'd love to see that.
You know what I mean? As folks kind of enjoy their libations. I totally agree with you, Brand.
Do Hennessy, so I don't know why I was drinking it.
Nah, we don't want to go back to the old Duke days. We don't want to do that. No. Well, if y'all were drinking Hennessy at Duke, man, y'all had money over there.
We're not drinking Hennessy at Duke. I'm not even going to say what we were drinking at Duke, since my parents are watching.
Listen, at FAMU, all of our bottles were plastic until like our senior year. So
ours too.
But Brent, I will certainly say as an outsider, as I see things in the industry, like I mentioned before, you're one of the few people that I even know in the space just doing it at this really, really high level. The ability to inspire, young women coming behind you in an industry that has really, really, I wouldn't even say it's totally evolved, but it seems like they're letting down some barriers related to folks in your space being extremely successful in it, right? There's a lot of stigmas around, how males act in the industry. I think the Me Too movement has really, really exposed so many things associated with what's wrong in the industry. And for you to be a voice in all of those spaces, I think is really, really important. But I can't even count on one hand, like, the number of people that I know in that space. So Brand, take it very, very seriously, which I know you do. I'm not saying that you don't, but you represent, like, for a lot of people out there in the space, where there's 1 or 2 people at the table. I mean, I seriously can't put my finger on a pulse of folks that I know personally in that space and on that journey.
Well, thanks.
Any messages to the young ladies out there that want to get into the space in this world that face these barriers around the industry, because we know it can, even in 2020 going forward, be tough.
Mm-hmm. I would say don't get discouraged if this is a time where you feel like you can't break into the industry. It's a tough time to try to break in, and it's not impossible. It's just Like I said, there's budget cuts. I feel like media companies just started hiring again, maybe in the past couple of months. So if you want to break in, I would start by freelancing. Go on Twitter, look at the outlets that you're interested in and see what those editors are posting, or reach out to an editor. If you're a college student, go on LinkedIn, reach out to editors at places that you're interested in working for, and same for the broadcast space too. And use your college network too. Super helpful. USC, for example, has an amazing network of alums and people to connect to. But yeah, use every resource you can. I think every media job I've gotten has been through some connection of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, Brandi, I can't let you go without talking about, Atlanta and this opportunity that we have to influence just so many different things and so many different industries. You've seen the West Coast like a lot of people haven't. And so when it comes to, the experience around, what needs to again happen in the industry, I mean, what are your thoughts on this role that Atlanta is playing? I mean, for you going into a new role, working with people that'll be on a global scale, I mean, how does being based out of Atlanta, impact all of that, and being from here? Talk a little bit about that as
well. Okay, I'm gonna try to say this without without being offensive to anybody. But when I was trying to get a job in Atlanta, it showed me that Atlanta needs a lot of work when it comes to the media space. A lot of people aren't open to new things. And so I think Atlanta, there's big opportunity in Atlanta to bring something different to the space.
Awesome.
To bring that new media outlet to this space, to bring, your own thing to this space. But until people in the media space in Atlanta really start being open to change, I'm not sure. It's going to take people being in the position to try to change things, because it really just felt very archaic to me when I was looking at roles here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very cliquish and territorial here.
It is.
In Atlanta. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, being one of those advocates that want to see people in all industries, in all verticals, right? Again, from the little bit that I know about, what it is that's on the surface, when I don't see myself in, again, myself, whether it be as a Black man or you as a Black woman or just a person of color in a lot of these spaces, you just have to ask the question. And Atlanta isn't immune to that.
Yeah.
As much as we love Atlanta.
Yeah. And I want to say real quick, I'm not talking about CNN or local news, because those are different sectors. They have to do things in a certain way. I'm talking about other media outlets outside of that space.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, well, the industry has grown so much. I mean, there's a lot of different, to your point, a lot of different types of opportunities for folks to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But certainly in the entertainment space, I think about fashion. Now, I might not be big into fashion, but I notice it from afar. Yeah. I certainly do. Mm-hmm. So, Brandi, any last words at all for the folks that are tuned in? I really, really enjoyed our conversation. This is, man, the time sprinted by.
It did. No, thank you so much for having me on. I guess I would just say to everybody, like, I know this is a tough time, and it's, people are struggling and trying to get their way through it, and just keep having faith, keep going. If you have a dream or a vision for something, keep, pushing ahead. If you need to take a break from it for a second, put it aside for a second, but then come back to it. Don't ever just let it go completely. And so that's it.
And keep it sealed up in prayer, intentional prayer.
For sure.
That's really good, Brandi. You got all kind of people showing out in the comments. I mean, hey, look, all kind of exclamation marks and emojis.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much for having me on, Greg. This was fun.
No, Brandi, I appreciate it. Hey, and so folks, after this particular episode, you can check out all the content and other interviews at gregclay.com/purpose-driven pivot. You just heard from Brandi Fowler. Brandi, where can they follow you on Instagram and all of that stuff, and IG and Facebook? the internets.
On IG at Destination Fab and also at Brandi Loren, BrandiLaren.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And Brand, hey, have a strong rest of your week. And thank you for all that you do and all the people that you're inspiring out there.
Thanks, Greg. All right. Have a good day.
All right. You too.
Bye.